big gap here, man. This is like the main place for everyone to sit. So, everyone likes the walls down there. Everyone's left a big gap in the middle. How many people were here last time? 3 weeks ago when we had the event. Just by a show of hands. Just keep your hands for a while. How many people came last time? MashaAllah, that's good. Okay, thank you. So, there's a different crowd, MashaAllah. But before we move on, as you can see, we have different people speaking today as well. And mainly I wanted to really recap on what we did last time as well. So as we've got so many people who came last time, I'm sure we'll have an amazing recap session of what we covered. So last week we spent a lot of time creating some thoughts. We kind of thought about what was going on. So inshallah this week we'll not only be thinking about ourselves but also trying to maybe put some of our thoughts which we may have had last week or since the 3 weeks ago when we had that session, to try and take some of those thoughts and maybe put a few of them into words as well, which is a very, very important part of this. When we take our experiences, our spiritual experiences, and we try and put some words to them, like Sheikh Ashraf, the way he introduced it with the presence of the angels that are all around us. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentions that لا يقعد قوم يذكرون الله. No one ever comes together to remember Allah, except 4 things happen to that group of people. Number 1, حفتهم الملائكة. Like Brother Imam Ashraf, he mentioned that the angels come, and there's special angels who are actually there to look for these kind of gatherings. So حفتهم الملائكة. The angels cover the whole gathering. Then وغشيتهم الرحمة. You said this whole hadith, but it's so beautiful that we'll just repeat it before we get going as well. That the mercy of Allah comes and covers these people, all of us sitting here. And وَنَزَلَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّكِينَةِ. The peace and tranquility of Allah, it transcends on these people, it comes down on these people. And then finally, وَذَكَرَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَنْ إِنْدَهُ. Allah remembers all of us in the presence of His angels. So that's how blessed the gatherings become. So we're really, really lucky to be here. I mean, it's an amazing environment that we are able to participate. So anyway, so we'll start off. What were we talking about last week, last session, 3 weeks ago? What was the topic? We'll start off together and then we'll branch out, maybe. Who remembers the topic? Connecting to Allah, good. So we'll start off with that. Yeah. So everyone's on the same page. We spoke about
Taqwa and tawakkul.
Taqwa and tawakkul. They're always ahead of everyone else, mashallah. So anyone else want to maybe say something a bit more detailed about what they remember from the last session? So it's been 3 weeks. It's been a long time to kind of think about it. So whatever you remember, it doesn't have to be like a complex an analysis of what we did. Just even what you remember that happened, or maybe something which you learned. Yes, is that your hand up, Rayhan? Yes, Rayhan. MashaAllah. So how did we do that? Sounds so inspired, MashaAllah. But yeah, so slow down, take deep breaths. Anything else? Which anybody else kind of took away from that? From that section, that was a very interesting section, wasn't it? When some people recited the Quran, and then we kind of figured out how they can improve, which is very interesting. Did anyone learn anything from that? Anything else? Anyone? Yes, Raj.
Awareness. Basically, what helped me a lot was just a simple reminder that you have to disconnect from something else to connect with Allah. So you find yourself connected to so many other things, and to connect to Allah, you have to maybe disconnect from something else, and that's what helped. Awareness, raising awareness, and disconnecting.
That's how we started, isn't it? Yeah. Well, how did we start? Who remembers how we started? Everyone turned off their phone, didn't they? Which was amazing. So nobody liked it. Everyone was a bit scared that the world might turn off while the phones turned off. But we got through it, and that's what happens when we disconnect from kind of all these random things. Because if we're really distracted, in fact, the verse about Jum'ah is very nice. فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ. Make sure you leave all the transactions behind you. Today we can transact while you're sitting in the Imam's place in the masjid. And you can be so distracted. You can completely not be here. This is why Imam Ashraf also started with the importance of being present and just bringing ourselves actually here. And that's why we turned the phones off last time. And it's more of a psychological thing. Everybody's phone's already on silent, but turning it off means that, you actually have, some strength within yourself to control that device that we have. Jazakallah Rajman. That's beautiful. Anything else? Come on, else with something else to remember.
I will learn actually how to recite Quran properly and in a slowly way. Not in doing fast, and breathe in and out.
Breathing, oh yeah. Because when Charna read, there's a lot of breathing involved, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that really helped. So one of the main things which was offered in the class was the free lessons as well. How many people, did anyone take up some free lessons? Oh, I know exactly how many people. Put your hands up if you took up some free lessons. There's only one person, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's good. 7. Gee, go on then, what did you guys learn? Yes, go on.
Myself, I took some free lesson and then, mashallah, that was very interesting and I really enjoyed it. And I'm very determined to learn the Quran, totally the rhythm. Mashallah, I will be there successful.
So, how many lessons have you had?
So far, 2, and then my third lesson, and
3 lessons.
3 lessons there.
So, how did they help you, your lessons?
The way to pronounce the Quran, to read the Quran, to recite the Quran, the alphabet, the rhythm, and it motivates you also less stress when you're doing your salah.
Less stress when you're doing your salah, what does that mean?
So, how can I explain that? It's when you're reading the Alhamdulillah, you see, you read very kind, Taraz, and you know what that really means.
Oh.
And,
so when you slow down, you bring more attention to the meaning and the letters.
Yeah.
This is very interesting. If you read Alhamdulillah, and you actually believe that you're saying that all praises are for Allah, it's very different to how you normally maybe.
And you break all the syllables and everything, all, like explained to me, which was very interesting.
So especially if you don't understand Arabic, so to be able to break up the syllables and to go slowly and just be able to take the letters individually and the words individually, then it can bring a new meaning about to the whole Quran, isn't it? It can, we'll see Surah Fatiha in a different light. Gee, anybody else? Raya, can you wake him up, please? On your right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, anyone else? Inshallah. So there's a lot that we covered. What were the two? Okay, let's try and go back to connecting to Allah. We had 2 main energies or 2 main ways which we understood connecting to Allah. Who remembers that?
Is taqwa and tawakkul.
Taqwa. What does taqwa mean?
Have some belief before doing it.
Consciousness.
A bit louder, please. Consciousness, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, what does that mean then? Who said it, man? Someone said it over there. To be aware of Allah.
Yeah.
Good.
There is no difference between the one person together, black or white, or the most aware of Allah and from the rules of Allah and follow them and get the levels
What are the levels?
in front of Allah. There is no difference between that.
So taqwa is very useful because this is where we get our discipline from. This is where we have the ability to actually control ourselves. When we said it's consciousness could actually just be a thought. Yeah? So for example, imagine we did the example of being in prayer. So now you're in prayer and you're not concentrating and you're daydreaming about something else. So now when you remember that you're meant to not be daydreaming, that remembrance in itself is your taqwa in action. This is the awareness of Allah, that you're not meant to be doing something and you're able to do it. Now the thought might be, okay, I need to concentrate in my salah. This might be a thought, which is your consciousness. So to look at things which we usually do, because we, as human beings, we live our lives kind of on autopilot a lot of the time. Without really realizing what we're doing, why we're doing it, and for what reason. So this is why when we think about this, when we think about our salah, why are we praying our salah? And then we think of the reasons behind it. We're trying to connect to Allah here. We're trying to become closer to Allah. We're trying to have a conversation with Allah. So we think of it like that, then now obviously for it to work as a conversation, we have to have an awareness of Allah there. We have to be concentrating. We have to be trying a little bit there. So that was the taqwa aspect. Do you know what was the other one? Taqwa? So what does taqwa mean now? Consciousness, yeah? So you can bring consciousness to any situation and then you can change it. So this is very useful. Do you know what was the other one? Tawakkul. So what was that all about? Trust, good. Sorry? Who remembers what we spoke about 3 weeks ago when you spoke about tawakkul? Reliance, yes, that's the real word, isn't it? So you know that Allah's on your side. You know that Allah's with you. So regardless of how hard it seems what you're trying to do, you know that Allah is with you. So this is what we're trying to build when we're building a connection to Allah. So that's an overview of the connection to Allah. Then we moved on to 2 tools which we have, which help us connect to Allah. Who remembers the tools that we used? We had 2 tools. Number 1, what was the first tool that we had? Who remembers? All the people that were here, man. So this was on the second page of the handout. Jeez, what was the first tool, man? No one remembers. That's a brilliant one. It was thinking. Yeah, so we had 2 exercises. We had kind of thinking, because it was the start of 2020 then, so we were all still in the new year kind of resolution mode. So because we have this year ahead of us, we done some spiritual thinking about where we want to be in December. Does everyone remember all those questions? Then we had kind of where we are as well, trying to figure out where we are at the moment. So it was thinking, asking ourselves questions, how is our connection with Allah? Where do we want our connection to Allah to be in December? Does everyone remember this as a tool? So one of the most powerful tools we have really is to think about our own connection. Because everyone's journey will eventually be unique. Everyone will have their own journey while they're connecting to Allah. Everyone will connect in different ways. It requires us to engage and focus on ourselves. When you start thinking, then you realize how much energy and how many resources you have to actually point in your own direction. And to how many different avenues there are for you to actually improve. By thinking, you'll actually open up so many strategies for yourself. The strategy section won't have any shortage at that point. So many tools. As soon as we start thinking how we can start improving, we'll start realizing so many things. So that was one kind of main thing which we're trying to do. We all thought about it a little bit. Did anybody think about it then? So based on what people might have thought about, is there anything which anybody learned, anything which came to anybody's mind, which maybe you hadn't thought of before? Something which you learned new 3 weeks ago in that session, which you hadn't thought of before? Yes, Rudy.
So being grateful for the little small things as opposed to the big things. So when you do salah for Fajr, for example, just be grateful for what's about to occur throughout your day before it happens. So I'm grateful for my tea. I'm grateful for getting to work safely. Just being grateful for these things. So when they do occur, alhamdulillah, you
yeah, that's really interesting, man. We spoke about that in the tawakkul section. So tawakkul comes together with what you mentioned. You mentioned gratitude and dua. This comes with tawakkul. Tawakkul is what again? To be able to rely on Allah, to know that Allah's on your side, and Allah's going to help you through whatever you have to do. Yeah. So who remembers, man? How does being grateful help your trust in Allah? Help how much you can rely on Allah. Help how much you know that Allah's got your back. How does being grateful help that? Who remembers? Who can explain that? So when we're grateful, what are we doing? Yes?
We're thanking Allah.
We're thanking Allah, good. So we're bringing our attention towards the things which Allah has given us. Yeah? So I was talking to Yusuf actually. So sometimes when we're depressed, we're doing the opposite. We're taking our attention away from everything Allah's given us and bringing our attention to all the things that we don't have, or all the things that we're sad about. So when we're doing gratitude, we are bringing our attention towards everything Allah has given us. So if we've just got a cup of tea in the morning, we're being grateful for having that cup of tea, for having our cup of coffee, for our car starting first time, for being able to talk, for being able to walk, for the fact that our lungs can breathe. So all of these things we can be grateful for. When we start being more grateful for this, we are accepting that Allah has given me this thing. Allah has given me lungs to breathe. Now imagine if we didn't have lungs to breathe. Life would be quite hard. Imagine if our car didn't start first time. Imagine if we had an accident on the way to work. Imagine if our phone turned off. It was so many things, so many scary things that could possibly happen. But Allah keeps us, all these things, when we do gratitude and we realize that our phone's working fine, that our laptop's working fine, that our car's working fine, that our body is working fine, that our digestive system is working fine. When we remember that, we remember all the things Allah's doing for us. So then when somebody tells you, trust in Allah, when you've seen a whole list of things which Allah is already doing for you, you're acknowledging that all the time. The more we acknowledge the things Allah has already done for us, the easier it becomes to believe that Allah will continue to give you those things in the future. Then your tawakkul is just automatic. And dua really helps. This way of doing dua in the morning after Fajr. So again, Brother Rodrigo, like he mentioned, we wake up for Fajr and then we do our dua for the day, so that our breakfast goes well. Every segment of our day we can make dua for it. Our breakfast goes well. The fight with the kids at breakfast time goes well. It's fun. Then when we take the kids to school, that's another thing which goes well. We make dua that goes well. Obviously, whatever we're doing during the prayers of the day, we make dua for them going well, and we see them going well. And then we'll see that Allah actually accepts our du'as. We'll see our du'as getting accepted because we're making du'as for things that are happening every single day in our lives. So again, this will help our taqwa. This will help our ability to make dua, because we'll see all the things Allah's already given us. So when it's time to make dua, we can be a bit optimistic. We know Allah gives us everything we always ask Him for. So now when it's time to make dua, we can carry on asking Him for everything else that we want. And we will believe that we'll get them. So when we believe that, we'll get them, because we exercise in tawakkul in our dua. That's the recipe for getting your dua accepted. So this is why tawakkul was really important. Dua and shukr, it kind of came together in that second section. So everyone got that? So that was taqwa, tawakkul, connecting to Allah. And then the first tool was thinking. And what was the second tool? Who remembers that? The second tool was? Second tool was reciting the Quran. Yeah, so bringing attention towards the way that we recite Quran, making sure that we recite it properly. And then a couple of people recited the Quran, and we kind of went through that, and then we improved from there. Anyone remembered anything else that they learned from that time?
I found it interesting that you could measure your tawakkul with gratitude. So I thought it was like I was like a really grateful kind of person. But then when I looked at it and looked at the tawakkul, then I knew that I wasn't like within that. Then I had to kind of re-examine myself and say, okay, am I really that grateful for things? Because I'm like emotional kind of, everything affects me and stuff, so my
So what do you notice?
That was like quite interesting that I could measure it with the gratitude, and then that means I actually like improve my, how grateful I am for the things I have.
Yeah, so that's a separate topic. I was thinking to do that topic next time, inshallah, of gratitude with a bit more detail. Because it's something we should really be doing every day. And we've not gone into detail on that. We went into detail on thinking and the Quran and connecting to Allah, but this is something which we just mentioned in passing really last time. And how we can do it every day. I mean, there's whole surahs in the Quran which are they just mention the different blessings Allah's given us. They just remind us of the things Allah's given us which we're always using, which are all around us all the time. And it just brings, so much of the Quran just brings our attention to the things that Allah has given us. Even when we start, Alhamdulillah, we start by praising Allah, just reminding ourselves of everything that we've been given. So that was really interesting. Gee, anyone else? It doesn't have to be as amazing as Brother Rashad's contribution.
It's not just about what's been given, it's about unseen and we've been protected, what we don't even know about.
Yeah, again that works in exactly the same way, doesn't it? It will be the same cycle. So if we believe Allah is going to protect us and we find the times that Allah has protected us in the past, and we make dua that Allah continues protecting us, then we'll be able to take the protection of Allah.
I mean gratitude for what you already got, what Allah given you, and gratitude for the protection you don't even see, you don't even
Absolutely.
realize you have. So that,
All around us all the time.
yeah.
It's like today, I think, even from the moment we made an intention to come, some of us may have realized that, that's a big thing. To say that we're going to come, we're going to take out like a long time, about an hour from our life, come to the masjid, sit down and pray Isha, and then from the moment that we make the intention, that we're going to do this good thing, some of us would have felt lighter from then. We'd have realized from that moment that we'd made a good decision. That we'd have realized that we're going in. Did anyone feel that? Yes. So some of us would have we get right from that moment. The event's not even started. We've only made an intention, but the intention is so powerful that we feel the effect just of the intention on ourselves. And that energy starts coming together. Like when Isha Salah was going on, there was so many people that you could feel how much energy there was in that Salah. And like we know, when Imam Sahib makes the rows for Salah, he tells people to stand together. The Prophet ﷺ told people to stand together so that the devil can't come in between. When we stand together and pray Salah, we have a shield from Shaitan. Shaitan can't be in the vicinity of people who are praying together. So there's no Shaitan there, and angels are surrounding that gathering. And then all together, that whole field, every single person there with their own intention, and everybody with their own attempt at concentration, trying to get close to Allah, and that all comes together in the environment of the masjid. The masjid itself is somewhere to be, but that all comes together here, with the angels here as well, with the mercy of Allah being here as well, with the tranquility from Allah being here as well. And when we start this is why it's important sometimes to leave our distractions. So when we start leaving distractions, when we actually open our eyes and try and see what's around us, it's always been there. Sometimes it's just about noticing it. And sometimes we're just missing out on things which really we should be more aware of. So this is a great opportunity to do that. Like Imam Ashur said at the beginning as well, that this is an environment which we just need to try and feel it a little bit. That what is it that we're kind of experiencing? That we're able to come to the masjid, we've been able to take this time out, we've all made a commitment to make ourselves more close to Allah. So, I mean, we're really, really lucky to be able to have done all this. And we're able to experience a really great environment. We're really, really lucky for that. Do anyone want to say anything? Is that hand up? Dr. Ramani? No. Okay, inshallah. So now I'm just kind of talking then. So, no one else going to speak?
I think Brother Masum was
MashaAllah. Because the thing is, what I really wanted to do today is, because last week there was a few questions. Not last week, last session. So there was a few questions about how we can improve, how we can get better, and then we start directing these questions towards ourselves. Yeah, does that make sense? That's what we're trying to do. So there were some questions. How can we connect to Allah? How can we recite the Quran better? How can we become, feel that we're more connected to Allah? How can we do these things? So when we start thinking about this, and then we approach our salah, because most of the rituals we have, for example, praying salah, its primary purpose is to reconnect us with Allah. The point of Ramadan is to recharge our taqwa. Most of the things that we have going when we're praying is meant to be a chance which we have to reconnect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now when we ask ourselves the question that I want to reconnect with Allah, and this prayer is meant to do this for me, then we're able to approach the prayer in a different way, that we maybe haven't approached it before. Does that make sense? Yeah. So then we approach the prayer trying to find this and establish and deepen our connection with Allah. And then when we do that, we notice that that we're able to realize that we're able to deepen our connection with Allah, then we're able to notice it. So what I wanted to do today is, based on all that experience which we've got, is we try and take that experience and put it into words, which is obviously a lot more difficult than I imagined. So that experience which we have, once we get able to put it into words and think about it, that will give it a lot more tangibility to us. We'll feel it a lot more tangibly. We'll be a lot more aware of it, and we'll be able to use it in a much stronger way. So I'd encourage everyone to really, because the experiences, everyone's going to have their own individual experience. Everyone's going to try in their own way, and everyone's going to try their best. And when we start trying, we'll notice that things will start changing for us. So if we're, like Brother Raj said, if we're just disconnected, we're not going to notice whether we're connecting or disconnecting, or whether we're in exactly the same place. So it's important, before we even start, that we try and disconnect from the distractions we have around us, and we actually bring ourselves here. We bring ourselves, we bring that worry here, and sometimes just the energy, just bringing that much energy towards yourself, that will be more than enough to actually make that change that we really want to try and make in our lives. Does that make sense? I didn't want to bring too much new information this week. I wanted it to be the same information that's on the handouts we had last week, similar information, but just thinking about it in a different way. And there's no refreshments today either, inshallah. We're trying to be healthy or something. So there's no refreshments this time, because obviously if every time we come to the mosque to start eating, then we might associate the mosque with eating. So it's good to sometimes come to the mosque and fast as well. So it's good not to eat. It's actually, we should be grateful for the opportunity to not eat at this time, which is not suitable for eating. So that's something we should also be grateful for, that today we don't have to worry about eating too much. And inshallah, our next event, I'm still thinking about the date. I think I've planned one, but might be changing it, inshallah. But provisionally we're thinking I think 23rd of February, inshallah, for the next one. And also that will be for sisters as well. It will be here at the masjid, and the sisters will be upstairs, inshallah. And the brothers will be downstairs. And inshallah, 23rd of February, that will be after Maghrib. Maghrib will be about 5:30. So if everyone can keep that in mind, and I've not written it on a paper because we're trying to save the environment as well. So keep it in mind, and I'll send a message on using the phones. And try and keep that date in mind as well. That will be when we're following on, inshallah. And inshallah, we're just going to wrap up there. And inshallah, just to conclude and bring together everything that we've had today. It's been very simple, but it's mainly for us to try and bring a bit of attention towards ourselves and to understand how we can improve ourselves. But as Imam Bashir is here as well, it'd be a real waste of an opportunity if we didn't have, a few minutes, in his company as well, inshallah. So inshallah, he will conclude, and then we'll end. And then inshallah, everybody's welcome to meet each other. And then I'd like to meet everyone as well, inshallah. I'll try and move a bit quickly through people. And then inshallah, we'll conclude.